Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. Live is every Friday, yes. Except all those Fridays when I've been bad and haven't done my live. How is everyone today? What's new? So I've got a picture of some salmon, which I'm working from. It's up on my large screen. I'm trying to figure out, I think I'm actually going to extend some of these seeds. Yeah, I've got myself a mango, well, it's like half water, half mango juice with some magnesium in it. Magnesium like citrate or something, which is supposed to be good for the absorption of my other meds. It's also good for keeping me hydrated. So unfortunately, I washed off this palette to do a demo at some point. So I have to remake that mix. Kind of sucks. Definitely rearranged my studio, so nothing is where I expect it to be. What did I have in here? I had some of this green, and I had some of the titanium buff, and I had some, no, not this stuff. Yeah, that'll do. So I just want to make sure that, I just want to extend these so that I don't have just one, like, so I don't want to have the salmon be quite that long. So I need to extend this area of pumpkin seeds a little bit. Just be something like this. Hi, Paulo. Hi, Mom. And then this palette already has, you know what, I'll just load some more. I'll use this guy. It's a little bit bit of the, this is Aquarius orange. And tiny bit of one of these reds, maybe. Something like that. Over here. And then I will also just make myself a mix. It's just this like really murky. Oh, sorry. I need to go wake my screen up because I need to see what, I need to see my reference. I'll just take a mouse over here so that I can keep this. So I've got, I'm working off my computer, which is across the room, my monitor, but I have quite a large monitor, so I've blown up a reference image. Yeah, I don't know if you want to keep up that pattern of like always using a larger palette as you get older. That seems like it could lead to some trouble, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm making like a gray mix here. It's got some Prussian blue, some of the titanium white, or not, that's a titanium buff, and a bunch of other just sort of palette mud. And the point here is to get a little bit of very, very light shading on the shape of the salmon, because then I'm going to paint the main colors on over top. But you have, salmon has like these off-white stripes and then some more coral orange stripes. And so I want to be able to show both of those. I don't like how this is scrolled. Wait one moment. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Any news on the light fastness test? I put a sample of PR122 Opera Rose in the window. I hope the PR122 is is light fast enough. Well, so PR 122 will be light fast. There's usually Opera Rose has PR 122 and a fluorescent. So the fluorescent will just fade back to PR 122. But PR 122 itself is quite light fast usually. I haven't checked back on my test yet. And I also took a long while to get it set up in the new window. Like, after I took it down, it just sat in a corner of my studio for a while, so that kind of screwed up the test, I guess. But nothing new on the dog front since nothing new on the dog front since last week. After the last live stream, I called I had a rescue call me during the last live stream, and I called them back, and I had to send them some additional information. They called my references, but that all happened last weekend, and I haven't heard back since. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, I can't imagine my references. Some of my closest friends said anything that would discourage them. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but I haven't heard back too recently. I do not yet have a dog. I had a doctor's appointment this morning. I have my doctor's blessing to get a dog, so that's cool. Not that I needed it, but you know, it's nice that the doctor didn't react poorly to the idea of going to get my exercise by getting a dog. I don't think that here. So, Mom, I don't think I've made you a mod so that now you can add links if you want to send links to rescues, but obviously I'm not going to be clicking on them right now because I'm streaming. Hi, Stephen. Sorry, I don't know if I said that already. How are you? I'm gonna No, well, I didn't shake my mouse with enough frequency. Hey Luciani, how are you? I realized that I made an invoice and then I never actually sent it to you. I will send you an invoice after this live stream, if I remember. Hello. Oh, this? Interesting. I think I mentioned it at the beginning, but I'll just, I think I mentioned what I was painting, but if, I'll just leave it as a mystery then. No, no, no. Somebody wanted to do it all. I have to leave that white. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Lift up, little thing. Let's take this the other way. That's a bit better. It is not vegetarian and vegan, so this part is all vegetables because that's what the food guide says. I'm not making a statement about like I'm vegetarian. I don't eat salmon, but of course everyone makes mistakes. They're fixable. It's not a big deal. It's just, you know, it'd be nicer sometimes. So now I have to soften this up and then not repeat this, hopefully. Okay, and then I need to let this dry a little before I touch it again. A good food guide should be mostly whole plant food, but not 100% vegan. Then you get way too political and you lose the room. Yeah, I think that's more or less what this is going to be. So this half is the fruits and vegetables half. So obviously it's all fruits and vegetables. There's no non-vegan sources of fruits and vegetables. Proteins are going to have both vegan and non-vegan options. So there's going to be seeds and nuts and pulses and things, but there's also going to be a piece of salmon, some cheese, some eggs, something like that. And then over in this section is going to be grains, and then again, grains are all vegan. So yeah. It's not, I'm not trying to make a political statement at all with this piece. The Canada Food Guide, like the original version, actually does a pretty good job of having you know, being mostly plant-based, but it includes all kinds of things that people eat. It's just about, you know, providing options. So you can choose to eat any of these things. You don't have to eat all of them. It's just about the ratios. So that you're eating, you know, half fruits and vegetables, a quarter grains, and then a quarter protein sources, whatever those are. And obviously, depending on what your exact diet looks like, I mean, that can change too, and you could make all sorts of arguments about how this could be improved, but that's not what I'm doing here. Like, this is not an assessment of the Canada Food Guide. Although that bread is not enticing to me. Well, I'm sorry. But just because it's like a regular loaf bread, I'm gonna put some pockets in it so that it looks more like less like a Wonder Bread. I thought that having that nice corner though, really, like, it was quite, that's also in the original version, and I think that it really helps define, like, because I wanted to fill it like really, really full. That looks like bread out of a packet. Yeah, absolutely, it does look like bread out of a packet. You are absolutely right, it does look like bread out of a packet. because nice home-baked bread wouldn't have this nice corner. Sometimes we eat bread out of packets, though. Well, sometimes I eat bread out of packets. I don't know what you. Maybe you have a nicer life than I do. Okay. Get some darken this corner. You should have used whole wheat groats instead of bread. Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of these decisions are based on like balancing colors and showing a range of stuff more so than like what would I like to eat. Although there is some of that too. Like there were no peaches in the original, which as far as I'm concerned is a tragedy because Niagara peaches are delicious. The amount of peas, well, there's plenty more space. It's just they take forever. So I've been putting them off. But there's going to be more peas, and then there's going to be more stuff down here too. And we need some herbs. Yeah, I wanted to put in some basil in here somewhere, but and there's going to be some tomatoes as well. But really, like this is a huge plate, and I'm running out of room. Hot sauce. Yeah, I don't know how I would communicate that something is a hot sauce necessarily. As opposed to just another sauce. That just reliably near neon orange. It's in the US where all the good Adidas garbage. Well, here in Canada we eat a nice balanced diet, don't you know? Everything is better in America's hat. Easier. Sorry, I'm just realizing I've got some like really harsh shadows on this, so let me just work on readjusting. It's a little better. And I've lost my little salmon again. McDonald's has McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, not much Sonic or White Castle? What is Sonic? Never even heard of Sonic. I stayed in a mediocre hotel in Pleasanton, California. Sorry. Let me just... And the amount of pizza and burgers I had was bad. Yeah, I mean, I joke about Canada being so much better, but to be honest, it's not all that different usually. I guess it depends. We do have some things that seem nicer, but nearest White Castle is 4-hour drives to New York City. It used to be considered a borderline. It is considered to be borderline pilgrimage to drive to New York City, eat a suitcase of White Castle burgers, and drive home, mostly to college kids. That sounds kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. I need a sharper point. Get another brush. I need to put in another brush order soon, I think. Keep running through the points on all my teeny tiny brushes. These ones are both kind of dead. Maybe I can use this liner thing? Yeah, maybe I'll just use the liner. We had roller skate drive-ins in the 70s. I used to live in a city with so many restaurants of all kinds. Names dropped this far count as good. I don't remember, have I been to Boston? I don't know that I've actually been to Boston. Maybe. Been to New York City, but like if you're gonna be in New York City, there are much better ideas of what to eat than White Castle. Like, just saying. You know, I'm not, this isn't a comment on American cuisine as a whole, but like there's plenty of choices in New York City. I should pay more attention to the stream. I was thinking, what kind of food is a liner? The delicious kind. Everywhere I go, the food is basically rice and beans and egg and a side of beef. Every single salad. Lettuce and maybe carrots. If you ever travel to this area, let me know. We can always get a... Yeah, I totally will. Although, to be honest, I'm really not sure when the next time I'm going to be traveling at all is. Just seems like we're in forever lockdown. I could do with staple rice and beans pretty frequently. Kind of miss that. Jordan's not a huge fan, so we don't do rice and beans so frequently at home. Sometimes. Then he'll have his side of steak. But like Canadian style steak, not the thin Brazilian ones. The newer information about guts, etc. is very fascinating. Cool. Tell me more while I paint. Sorry, so then this goes on here. Fun fact, our total amount of DNA is 90% in our gut bacteria, only 1% in our actual bodies. I thought that was mind-blowing. Fascinating. 90, like, in, what do you mean by percentage-wise, though? Like, volume, or, I'm not, like, variety? Because that would make sense. Because there's all kinds of different gut bacteria, but there's only, one of you. Weight of DNA. But how does that work? Because all of your cells have DNA? And your gut bacteria is not even the same order of magnitude. All the DNA. Right. So each of your cells has some DNA strands, and all of the gut bacteria cells have some DNA strands. And there's a shocking number of them, but your gut is not, like, just cell volume wise, it is a tiny fraction of your total body. Are you sure that it's measured in weight? I'm not trying to question you. I don't know what this claim is. I'm just trying to understand. Something's not adding up here. Crisis, how symbiotic we are with the gut bacteria. Like, there's gut bacteria in the rest of our cells too? Like, there's bacterial cells in our bones and in our brains and in our... I'm just... there's obviously a range of sizes of cells. And different lengths of DNA in different organisms. But, like, every one of our cells has a copy of our own DNA. There's a lot of them. We also have quite a bit of like, inserted DNA, where some huge portion of our own DNA, like of our within our strands of DNA, we also have like a whole bunch of inserted strands from like past diseases and plagues and what have you that have affected our ancestors. 8%. 8% of our DNA is from past viral infections. Hi, Dad. Anyway, I would believe that we have inserted DNA, like within our own DNA. That's not used by us, it's relics from other cells that have been in our body, including things like gut bacteria. That would make sense to me. Another 40% is made up of repetitive strings of genetic letters, that is also thought to have a viral origin. So now you're up to 48%. Add in the gut bacteria. Oh, I don't doubt. So I could believe that within our own DNA strands, like within the, Lee's genome, you have some huge amount, like 90% is from other organisms, like that at one point lived in my ancestors' guts. That makes sense. I was just trying to figure out, like, what are we measuring? Are we measuring our own DNA, or are we, like, yeah. Human cells make up body's total cell count. The rest are microscopic colonists. Okay. All right. So if we say of our total body, half. So if you're saying that, okay, well, half of our own cells aren't encoding for us, and half of our cells are not us at all, then you get up to some high percentage of DNA sequences, or I guess you could count that as weight. That's equivalent. Fascinating. Sounds about right. We outsource our gut bacteria to digest carbohydrates. Cool. Sounds neat. Bodies are so weird. I had my doctor's appointment today, and my doctor was suggesting all sorts of things about like research into supplementation for specific things. Very interesting. I like my doctor. Got a good one. Scientists bust myth that our bodies have more bacteria than human cells. Sorry to be a party pooper. Well, whether it's half or 90% or you know, not, even if it's a lot less, we are very dependent on various gut bacteria to help us survive. And there is all sorts of interesting research in how various aspects of our diet and etc. can affect very, very interesting things. Point is to eat lots of whole plants, like the Canada Food Guide suggests. Yep, I think that is probably about as close. Well, actually, I was going to say that's about as close to a consensus as nutritionists ever get, but then I realized that there are still like nutritionists and certainly people very focused on nutrition who do keto. So, yeah, eat a variety of things, I guess. The only problem with that is that it is not a sustainable approach to feed the world. Well, I mean, some grains and pulses are more land efficient than vegetables. And there's some land that isn't well adapted to growing vegetables but can grow grains and thus raising animals. That's true. But in terms of land use, like the more effective land use diets all tend to be fairly high in plant matter, unless you're in somewhere like Mongolia or the Canadian North, where you can't grow, you know, plants that humans can digest for a huge part of the year. Okay, well, I think that's that we are at about the time where we can stop stop the like what should people eat discussion. Yes. To Gabor's point, or question about the gray, I wanted, so because I'm gonna have these white areas right in between the orange, I didn't want those to be too, sorry, I need to focus on this a little bit. Get back to answering the question in a moment. I didn't want these to be too stark white the whole way through, basically. Because if they were all white, then this would end up flattened. So I need to have some areas, like this area has no paint on it, so this will be pure white. But if I had them all be pure white, then the areas in shadow wouldn't look like they were in shadow. And I wanted them to contrast the areas of, like I didn't want to just blur those lines too much. I did end up blurring them a little, but I didn't want to just, you know, end up with like, well, it's solid pink where. So I needed something that would contrast the orange a little. So it's just a very muted down complement to it, which ends up like a gray. If that makes sense. Nope, we seem to have lost some audience. Bye, Stephen. Yes. I mean, if we, without getting into food politics too much, I do believe that the most sustainable diet for each person is going to depend on where they live. So if you live in the Canadian Arctic, like obviously this part of the Canada Food Guide, if you live like up in Iqaluit, you have to, like, a lot of these vegetables would have to be flown in because they don't have enough of a growing season to grow a lot of these things, and you just straight up can't grow peaches. So, you know, that's not going to be a sustainable diet. If you live in Iqaluit, if you live up in the Canadian North, a more sustainable diet would be what you can eat there that's local to you, which is going to be a lot of fish. I mean, meat generally, but a lot of fish. You know, where I live, we have really good land for growing vegetables. So that works fine. But we also have a short season. So then you have to figure out what you're doing with the winter, and then the winter is going to be more grains, more preserved stuff, and then for most people also more meat in the winter. If you live in, you know, the more southernmost portion of Canada that I'm in, if you are somewhere else like Portugal, it might look completely different. You know, there really can't be a one-size-fits-all approach to what's right for each person to eat. I mean, it's also going to depend on different dietary restrictions. Like, yes, you know, if you live in the Canadian prairies, eating bread is probably great, unless, of course, you have celiac, in which case it's not great. So, yeah. Don't take me painting this as me saying this is what everyone's dinner plate should look like. It's not what my dinner plate looks like most of the time. I'm not really an expert on nutrition at all. I just try to eat a variety of foods. So all of this can be farmed in Canada? Yeah. So I'm strictly painting things that can be grown somewhere in Canada, can be farmed. I mean, so like obviously if you live in the middle of the country, you're not going to have local salmon because that's a fish that lives out on the coasts, right? And if you live in the very, very far north, things like peaches don't grow. But where I live, you can grow peaches and corn and like peppers and whatever through our summer quite easily. We have about 120-day growing season. And some parts of Canada have even longer and a longer, warmer season. So there's actually quite a range. Like Canada's a really huge country, so like obviously there's nothing I could paint here that you would be able to get in all of Canada. Like they're just, you know, there's literally nothing that country's so huge that, you know, there's very little that you could say exists in every georegion here. But all of these can be, I've focused, for my version of this, I've focused only on foods that, yeah, that can be produced in Canada. So some of them can be produced in most of Canada, some of them can only be produced in some areas, but somewhere in Canada you can grow this stuff. And it's not, I'm also not putting in, like, there's some really specialized things, like, you know, the southern tip of Vancouver Island. If you get like really hardy citrus, you can grow citrus outdoors in a protected spot. I'm still not going to put citrus in a things you can grow in Canada. We don't have a commercial citrus business. We do have a commercial, like, business for all of these other things. And so one of the other questions here was like, one of the other things that I'm sort of debating is the original Canada Food Guide shows rice. And while it is technically possible to grow some northern adapted varieties of rice in some very southern, some cold adapted varieties of rice in some of the warmest parts of Canada, there's exactly one farm that's trying to do that, and they're just tiny. They're like not very successful. It's just a trial. So it doesn't seem to me like it's really sensible to put rice in here if I'm trying to represent what is grown in Canada, because it's not like, rice is not really grown commercially in Canada. Likewise, there's one tea, like Camellia sinensis tea company in Canada, and again, in Victoria, which is like it's out on the west coast where they don't get as harsh winters, and it's like really far, it's on an island and it's really far south. So they have a climate that's not very representative of the rest of Canada, and they can grow a few things that we can't really through the rest of Canada with some extra care, but I'm not gonna try not to include too much of that stuff. It seems like cheating somehow. Our national dish comes from Norway, so oh, you're bacalhau, like cow, sorry, codfish? Yeah. If anything, this plate looks very wasteful. 3 slices of peach, half a slice of bread, etc. They are different. Yes, it absolutely does look a little wasteful that way, but just imagine that you are having a large gathering with a bunch of friends and everyone has a plate like this. So the other most of that peach is on someone else's plate. Or I don't know, I didn't really think this through, I just wanted to. Stop reading philosophy into my art. There's no philosophy here, I just wanted to paint some pretty pictures. Gabor, you said you like the philosophical aspect of math. See, that's where math just kind of loses me. And physics, for that matter. Like, I find math very, very fascinating until it gets to the philosophical aspect, and then I'm like, no, 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 I'm done. Likewise with physics. Uh, you get Newtonian physics. Love that stuff. Get theory of relativity. That took me some time to like wrap my brain around and warm up to, but okay, I get it. That makes sense. I understand it. I appreciate it. But then you get to some of the other stuff, like string theory. Oh, that's where you lose me in physics. I just can't. I just can't. Painting must tell a story. This one has told at least 10 live streams worth of stories. Is it 10 yet? Oh my goodness. I don't know. It's been a while. But yes. However, this is going to be finished this week. Not on this live stream, but I am. I want to use this. I'm applying for a muralist thing at a local farmer's market. And I want to use this as a sample piece. So that's going in on Tuesday. So I am going to spend this weekend and the first few days of next week working on this instead of just working on a million different things. And or as I have done more frequently recently, just not working on anything at all, or like spinning my wheels. That's what I've done a lot of recently. So it's good you didn't try to paint this from life. Most of it would be covered in a big, ugly green blob. Oh, like if I just left this, well, I wouldn't set up the whole plate, right? So I have painted some areas from life, but I've just painted that little thing and then I've taken it away and painted the next bit. I didn't set up a whole plate as a reference, but see, like I never would, because to me at that point, if you can just set up your whole piece in a way that you would just like take a photo and copy the whole thing, it loses some of the point to me of painting it. And I mean, I know that that's like some, that's a whole other philosophical question. But as a realist painter, you know, I'm always questioning, well, what am I adding? What is my painting? What is my contribution here? Like, what am I adding that is different, that is unique to this art? And it's not brush strokes. I mean, maybe a little bit of it can be brush strokes, but like, you know, that's also something that you could just much more easily do mimicking it on a computer. So why do people want my art? Because I can create something on a paper that you don't have in real life. So this plate never existed in real life. It would be difficult to set up a plate that looks nice like this. But I can paint one. I can tell that story without it having to be okay, so there's my little piece of salmon, more or less. I get a little bit more attention here and there as I work around it, but I think that's pretty much what I'm going to leave for the salmon. Oh, yay! So next I'm going to paint some more hazelnuts, for which I'm going to go fetch some hazelnuts downstairs. I explained the same thing about, Lisa Lockery explained the same thing about realistic painting many times. I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, like if you're just going to take a photo and then copy it, that can be good practice. Like, it's not that I've never done that. I've done that. That can be good practice. And sometimes that's, you know, you have a client who just wants your work for the brush strokes. They give you a reference and they say, paint this. It's not a judgment of people who work that way, first of all, but I don't personally get as much enjoyment or for fulfillment or feel like that's as much of a contribution on my part, unless I'm like changing it in some way. So, you know, I can build a composition in a way that I haven't seen in real life, but that shows all the different things that I want to show, and I can get individual references for those things. So in this case, some of this stuff is painted from life, some of it is painted from photographs, some of it is painted just straight out of my head, like those seeds actually. But the corn reminds me that Canadian sweet corn is in season. It's so delicious. Yes, it is in season. Very exciting. And peaches are about to be in season, which is also very, very exciting. Okay, I'm gonna go fetch some more nuts to paint. Already good ones from the market. You're already getting good ones from the market. Really? That's exciting. I guess I should visit the market this. I prefer apricots to peaches. Heresy! Heresy! Peaches are so much better. You clearly haven't had good peaches. You need to come to Canada in like late August, early September. come to my area where we grow peaches, or like really just a little south of here, Niagara region, and try our peaches. They are so good. They are so good. They are so much better than apricots. We grow apricots too. They're fine. They're all right. Peaches are so much better. Yeah, okay, so for the rest of the year, like, we can get peaches in the middle of winter. They're just not good peaches. So then if you're saying that apricots are better than those peaches, then I'm not sure, I'm still not sure I agree, but I can understand that. Because like most of the year peaches aren't so good. But when they're fresh and local and in season, Niagara peaches are so good. I grew up with, okay, yeah. So then that's it. Yeah, that makes sense. Fruit from the tree is always better. Like anything that you just picked is always so much better. So sorry, I'm gonna wander off, grab some these guys. I'll be right back. I just picked up some hazelnuts from my kitchen. I double checked the package. We can grow hazelnuts in Canada. We do have a small hazelnut industry. However, these ones are from Turkey, which is decidedly not Canadian or local, but oh well. And I'm going to refill my water as well. Hi, Joy. How are you? I'm about to paint some. So I just finished up painting my little salmon there, and I'm going to start painting some apricots. Right after I fill up my water. slept so badly. Oh, it's too bad. I keep hoping that you're gonna have a nicer Friday morning one of these days. Let's take a look around at these. I keep saying, I almost said apricots. These are not apricots, obviously. They're hazelnuts. I want to get a whole bunch. These will be like that. And Paula, if you make too many butt jokes here, I'm just gonna have to switch to painting a different part of the painting. Or, you know, of the human anatomy, whatever. Something. I think it was Paula, or was it? Am I blaming you for Dan's bad behavior? Any news about the plant thief? Hasn't been back, so that's cool. Ev, I'm not sure if you were here for the last stream or if you saw in my Discord, but I got yuzu. So my Meyer lemon got stolen back when the plant thief was active. And I was very upset about that. As I should be. But because I had a Meyer lemon that I'd had since last year that was fruiting. Like, it had a little lemon on it. So I was weeks away from Canadian grown citrus, and then it got stolen. So that was really, really upsetting. Yeah, I can send you the link. They're out of stock of it now, but they will restock next year, and it was surprisingly reasonably priced. I got it from Brugmansia, Quebec, and it was like very reasonably priced. It shipped like instantly. Like, they shipped it the same day. It arrived 2 days later. Beautiful, like beautiful. It's like the prettiest little tree. And well, there's a few things that are going for it. So first of all, yuzu is one of the hardiest citrus. It's a little bit like, unless you somehow manage to get a really established tree, it probably wouldn't survive our winters unprotected, like outdoors. But it is quite hardy, so it can survive like some substantial winter weather. So I'm actually just gonna, I think, keep my yuzu in my, like, I have an enclosed front porch, So it's like, it's not heated with the rest of the house. So it's usually like sort of halfway between outdoor weather and indoor weather. And it, you won't get like winds or anything in there because it's indoors. So some of the more, like things that are just a little bit too tender for my zone, I can grow without like taking up proper indoor space. So that's one thing that's going for yuzu. It's also like a really unique, tasty citrus that's difficult to get here. It makes really good like teas and desserts and things. And sauces. But yeah. Actually I can go grab that. Show that off. But yeah, Ev, I would strongly recommend that place. They're out of stock because I bought them out. I bought a new Meyer lemon, I bought a calamansi, and I bought a yuzu. And then I went back and I bought 2 pomegranates because I was so impressed with their service. Like the shipping was really reasonably priced. By difficult means impossible, lol. Tasty like mandarin or lemon? It's like if you had like some mix of like mandarin and lemon and lime all together. Maybe Ontario is better, but in Quebec, I have seen yuzu once or twice, and there's a farm in New Jersey that's growing it now. But I've seen yuzu like imported once or twice in like the larger Asian supermarkets. So you can get it, although yeah, most of the time you can get like yuzu products, like you can get yuzu preserves, but not so much the fresh fruit. It's really tasty. Really cool. Yeah, I can bring that up. So I don't just grab it. Okay, I'm gonna move my painting just out of the way very briefly so I can show off this thing. Here we go. Isn't it pretty? Look at these new leaves. So nice. It's got leaves, kind of like the makrut lime, where it's got like the double leaves. Yeah, Ev, I'll send you the link. Look for them when they restock in the spring, but for the price of a jar of yuzu marmalade or whatever, like literally for the price of like maybe 2 jars, you can get yourself a yuzu treat. Yeah. Yep. They're really cool. My lime, so I also have a macroot lime. It's also doing really well, and now it's flowering, which means I was hoping for a Meyer lemon, but I think my first citrus is actually going to be a macroot lime, which is really weird because that's like, it apparently is really slow to fruit. It's not really grown for its fruits, it's grown for the leaves. I've been harvesting leaves for ages. But it is now flowering. So, or like it's budding, and I've got multiple flowers. So it is gonna probably fruit. I called it a macroot lime. Usually it's called a kaffir lime, but that is a slur that certain people don't appreciate. So we're gonna stick to macroot, which is the original Thai name. Yeah. I'll keep it a link, but I live in a basement. I have no room or sun for plants. Lights, 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 lights. Like, what do you use for filming lights? Do you have like good full spectrum daylight LEDs? Because you could put your yuzu under lights. It's nice to know the alternative for that reason. Yes, yes. So I've been trying to train myself to always use that. Yeah, I would imagine like the macroot lime is the only other citrus that I know of that has the leaves like this. The calamondin has a little bit, but it's like mostly this second part. All citrus that we eat is a hybrid. Yep, pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, okay, I will move this out of the way and get back here. I have definitely killed my share of plants, including, I did at one point kill a lime tree a few years ago, the first time I tried to grow citrus. But I did manage to overwinter 3 citrus plants last year. So, yeah, I'm more confident of it. It helps if you can have like an area with a bunch of them. Makes you less likely to forget to water them. It also means you can then, if you humidify that area a little bit, it'll hold the humidity in a little bit more, so you're not as prone to like the drying that you get in the Canadian winter in conditioned spaces. I did lose a rosemary last year though after overwintering it the previous year, so that sucked. I vaguely remember the name didn't come from the slur. No, the name comes from elsewhere, and the slur refers to a completely different set of people, but nonetheless, best to not use names that are slurs when there are alternatives. Many, if not most, backyards have a lemon tree. We also have donkeys and llamas. Like in every backyard, you have donkeys and llamas. We definitely have a distinct microclimate in your backyard, in our backyard. Yes, you definitely do. I mean, we definitely have a distinct microclimate in our backyard as well, but it's not quite as distinct as yours. I would love to be able to grow citrus in my backyard, but unless climate change really whoops our butts, which is not something that I'm hoping for, that's backyard is a little like year-round backyard is a little hopeful in most of Canada. Or whatever the opposite of hopeful is when you're talking about climate change. I want to get a finger line, but don't tell my wife. And a Buddha's hand. I support you in these endeavors. Also, I don't know your wife, so you don't have to worry about me telling her. Even a greenhouse would be tricky. Ev, just you watch. I'm gonna build myself the best greenhouse. It's gonna be amazing. Also, it's gonna be in your province because I can't afford property in Ontario. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I can make a pretty damn near like solar only, pretty damn near energy or pretty damn near passive greenhouse that stays at like a zone 9. If I'm starting at a zone 5, which is like Kitchener or Montreal, I think I can do a zone 9, which is like northern Florida. Would it be partially underground? Yes. It would be sunk 4 feet underground. In fact, I'd probably dig down to 6 or 8 and keep some water storage even further down. So it's, yeah. And then facing southeast, about 15 to 20 feet wide by, as long as I want, really, length of a house. So like really we are looking at almost, I was talking to Jordan about this and he's like, you realize that you're talking about a footprint that is the size of our current house, which I am. I recognize that. Not quite, it's about 2/3 the size of our current house. It's what we're looking at. Just for the greenhouse. Obviously we have like multiple levels on our house, so like main floor, second floor, whatever. It would just be one level underground, and then the windows would go up to basically a second, just below the window level of a second floor with very high ceilings at about a 45-degree angle. And so then, yeah. What's the slant of the winter sun? It depends exactly where I am buying. Because, so the band of areas that I'm buying in all have very similar, that we're looking in all have similar climates, but if you do that, I will try to source praying mantises and or ladybugs for you. Ha! I know where to get biologic controls. Ooh, greenhouse speak. Yes. Okay, I need to go to the washroom and then I'll be back to talk about greenhouses some more. Okay, so the range of areas that we are looking at in terms of buying property are, Ev will know this, but everyone else can just look it up. So we started out trying to look just in basically Toronto's cottage country, like Muskoka, which is where Jordan grew up going there, but it's super expensive, like insane expensive. So that's unlikely. But then we started looking at a band from like around Gatineau, so the Ottawa Valley, Outaouais and whatever, and then sort of in a swing up past Montreal up to Laurentide. And so throughout that band, there's all sorts of places where we could get like a decent amount of property with some kind of water. Often it's river or like a small lake, but like some kind of water access and like a good chunk of property for relatively affordable, which would then allow us to build on it. So that's the plan, and that would put our sun angle, it depends exactly where, southeastern Quebec. Yeah, so we're not going really far north. The thing is, like, I'm very urban. I grew up in downtown Toronto, and so even moving to Kitchener initially, I was very resistant. And it still feels like pretty small towny. Like, I don't think that I would handle living in northern Quebec or like really far northern Ontario well at all. I feel like I need access to a city, and so that's part of what is appealing about some of the Quebec options as well, is that once you get out of the Toronto vortex, you can get very amusant. Yeah. Indeed. Exactly that. Yeah. Like Toronto's cottage country, to get anything that's even remotely plausible to buy, you're looking at like, oh, well, you're gonna drive for 3.5, 4 hours to get to Toronto or to any other substantial city. Whereas around Ottawa or even around Montreal, I mean, first of all, you've got Ottawa and Montreal within that distance. But you know, you head an hour out of Ottawa, an hour out of Montreal, and you have quite a few more options. Yeah, sorry, Gatineau. Well, I mean, Gatineau is Ottawa, like the capital region. Sorry, I wasn't making a distinction between the Ontario side and the Quebec side. So yeah. Yeah. So like, but if I there's like a weird jump in prices though. So like at that point, like we were looking on the Ontario side, and like on the Ontario side, you're still for some reason paying like the Toronto premium. And then you hop over the border and you look in Quebec, similar, like very, very similar landscape, very, very similar range of options, but everything is significantly cheaper. Alpaca. Yeah, I mean, there were a few there's been, like, we've been laughing at some of the names. It's not just in Quebec, like in Ontario, there, you know how many skeleton lakes there are, or fish lake, or long lake, which is different than lac long. And there's also like 6 of each. So yeah, addresses, like when you're trying to look up a property, right? Because it'll tell you like which area it's in, but like the online is like kind of difficult to get a feel for exactly what they're describing in a property. Like you know, the map on the real estate sites isn't always the best. So then you go and you try to follow these like you try to follow like the addresses, and it's ridiculous. They're like, they don't make any sense. So creative. Yeah, I mean, some of them it's like, okay, well then now you want the whole other way. I don't know what kind of a name is this. I'm having trouble coming up with examples right now, but you definitely get both extremes, where some of them are like another petit lac. Sorry. What was we started this on talking about sun angles. Sun angles. We are sun angle in winter. pretty much the furthest north that I would realistically get, it would be at about 45 from vertical, which means 45 from horizontal for a roof pitch. La Vallée des Ours. Greenhouse and sun. Yes, yes. So I need a real brush. Yeah, so basically I need to plan on, like, it'll depend a little bit on where we end up buying, because, like, again, there's a band of like very similar climates, but how far north they are does depend a bit. How many hazelnuts have you eaten from this bowl? Like 4 or 5? Is this some joke about me eating more of my subjects than I'm painting? Because yes, I absolutely am eating more of my subjects than I'm painting. Nom nom nom. Totally cheating with my reference though. These aren't Canadian hazelnuts that I'm painting. They're Turkish hazelnuts. But we can grow hazelnuts in Canada. We do have a hazelnut industry. So I love hazelnuts and can't control myself now. Going to wash my hands. Why? Because my hands are filthy? They say you can't paint what you can't understand, so eating them is part of the process of discovery and understanding. Yep. Exploring the world mouth first, like a toddler or a puppy. Hazelnuts are just pretty much Nutella, to be honest. They're pretty good. And yes, we can grow hazelnuts in Canada. In fact, we have a native species of hazelnuts. So these are not Canadian hazelnuts. But we have a native species of hazelnut to Eastern Canada, so Ontario, Quebec, further east. Those phthalo mines, I'll be in the Nutella mine. Thank you very much. Ooh, I didn't know that. Yes, they're called beaked hazelnuts. And you can get some hybrids that are like the whatever these hazelnuts are called, and the other ones that I think are hardier, but you can grow just like even the even the common hazelnuts you can grow in a lot of Canada. just putting out that I found this article, Wild Nuts in Canada. I'm taking a chance and clicking on it. I mean, we have a lot of like good wild nuts. And I mean this in the most like botanical, non-weird way possible. Beaked hazelnuts, what is this madness? Yes, we also have butternuts and beech nuts and black walnuts and American chestnuts, except they all tend to die. What other nuts do we have that grow here? They do look really nice. Hazelnut trees are really pretty. They're like a nice big bushy tree. And they've got like really pretty leaves. Very, very interesting. They turn interesting colors in the fall. Mm-hmm. Oh, I want a beaked hazelnut wood in your yard? Where are you gonna put it? Maybe you need to start like layering. Plant it on your upstairs deck. Apparently they say stay shrubby in shade. Oh, perfect. Bye, Gabber. So, in a similar vein, I've been researching like near native species. So with climate change, like, you know, this is kind of a shitty thing, but we live in a very cold climate. Very cold. I live in Wimp, Canada, but whatever. We live in a cold climate. Neuron! Buddy! He's been extra snuggly because he knows that something's up. We've been trying to adopt a puppy. Sorry, I'm gonna move this because the cat's here. Buddy! Where'd you go? Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to contribute? Mm-hmm. Where's your contribution to this household? Blue glass bowl is pretty. Yes, I have a collection of those. Like, collection of cobalt blue glass in my kitchen. So going as it is late here. Bye, Paulo. Neuron. Thanks for joining. Take care, and maybe I'll see you in a stream tomorrow. Okay. Oh, bye, Neuron. sorry, so I have been researching near native species, basically things that are native to just south of us, that, you know, we're sort of like on the borderline zone for, where like they would survive here, but because it used to be colder here, they've never really settled here. And so I've been looking into like what near native species are that I might plant here. And there's so many cool ones, like American passion flower, maypops. I'm gonna grow some passion fruit in my yard. Also, what's it called? Sweet shrub? Calicanthus floridus. Which isn't useful for anything in particular other than it smells really interesting. Apparently it smells delicious, like vanilla and spice and whatever, and it flowers with these crazy red flowers in like August. It's a host plant for all sorts of things. There are a few other things like that. And then there's things that aren't native in any way, shape, or form, but might surprisingly survive our climate, like the 2 pomegranates that I just got. So apparently Russian pomegranates are a thing, and pomegranate trees are just super interesting too. I wish I'd be good with plants. I mean, to be honest, I feel like a lot of it is just practice. Like I've killed a lot of plants. I'm good with plants now, ish. Knock on wood, but I feel like a lot of it is just, you know, if at first you don't succeed, try again. But yes, I've got like this crazy garden that's like really mostly my driveway. Because who needs a driveway? Cars. Psh. So we made the back half of our driveway into a garden where I grow all sorts of fun stuff. So this paper has a real texture to it. I'm still not quite used to it. I'm trying to get this shape ball in here. Growing them is one thing, but troubleshooting bug issues is not within my skills yet. Yeah, I've definitely lost. That's how I killed my first lime. So I had a key lime. It's the first citrus that I ever tried to grow, and it had root mealies, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with it until it was way too late. And like I overwatered it and underwatered it and just tortured it some more while just like not recognizing that it had root mealies. And maybe if I'd caught it earlier and washed it out, I could have dealt with it, but Neem oil has helped a lot of things. Yeah, so neem oil, there's Ontario has all of these restrictions about pesticides. And so you literally cannot sell as a plant treatment things like neem oil, which means that, but you can sell neem oil. It's just you have to sell it as like a hair care product or something, which means that all of the nurseries, like all of the plant stores, they sell, you know, house plants and garden plants and hair products. I'm really excited about how many, like how much there seems to be like a growing interest in biologic controls for a number of different pests. So like you can get, yeah, like special mites that eat spider mites and special mites that eat fungus gnats and fascinating stuff. So the local tropical plant store carries those. Maybe that's a topic for a Patreon post. Because I just bought a goofy indoor plant. So mostly I focus on edibles. Like I buy edible plants or like native pollinators for my outdoor garden. And for my indoor garden, I mean, I do have a few decorative things, but I've been mostly buying edible plants as well. Except that this store, and like, you know, I'll pick another plant here and there. You can get some like really neat looking things. They're often not very expensive, but I had never spent very much money on indoor plants like the collector's ones or anything until the local plant shop. They had a it's called a philodendron painted lady, if you want to look that up, because I don't feel like going outside and fetching it. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, and it looks like it's painted in watercolor. So I had to get it, even though it was stupidly expensive. So now I'm gonna have a giant philodendron. It's one of the like huge vining types. Yeah. Well, yeah, you can sell neem oil. You just can't claim that you're selling it to kill bugs. But if you're selling it to make your hair shinier, that's totally fine. So yeah, it's just all of the nursery owners have like a side business in hair care. I mean, to be honest though, like I haven't used neem oil. I guess it's the stuff about eating it. Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's just like some blanket rules about what can be used as like agricultural as like plant treatments. So you can't buy things that kill, like I guess you can sell biologic controls, which are like other animals that eat the things that you want gone. But yeah. To be honest though, like with my outdoor plants, I haven't had much of an issue. I don't do any kind of pest control. I just plant a huge variety of different things and let it fight it out. And it's worked out really well. I have very, very low pest pressure. Just from having like a lot of different pollinators in the area. So like I've attracted a number of different pollinators, a lot of different predators. Cold would help a lot. Well, I mean, it would definitely, like we have different, we have very different pests than you do. So like, it's not that we don't have pests, like there's a lot of pests and there's a lot of concern here about like tomato hornworms are a big thing here, or squash vine borers. And like I have lost some vines to vine borers, not this year, but the last 2 years. But like I've barely ever seen a hornworm. I think I've maybe caught like 2 in my garden. I have so many other insects, like predatory insects and birds, that like nothing, I never get one species taking hold. Cucumber beetles maybe, but even that. This year I've tried, like last year I was picking off cucumber beetles and just like flicking them into soapy water. This year I decided to ignore my cucumber beetles and it's been fine. An orchid is definitely spending out of flesh or showing some growth, which might turn out to be flower spikes. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the house, I definitely have more pest issues. Obviously, you don't really want to have a complete ecosystem in your house. Well, maybe some people do. I don't. I'm quite happy not having all the bugs in my house. So yeah, so by definition, you know, my home ecosystem isn't going to be quite as complete, should I say? So yeah, like we get fungus gnats, we get mealies, we get spider mites. Indoors, like they don't last outdoors, but indoors we get all the regular houseplant things. So one of the things that we do to deal with, like if I have a mild infestation and it's spring, I'll just wait till a warmer day and just take my plants out, and let them air out a bit, and that usually helps clear it. There is definitely a problem when we bring the plants back in fall, because they come with everything that they've picked up outside. But yeah, I've got I'm looking forward to trying some biologic controls for a lot of the issues this winter. We'll see. And I'm also looking forward to having a gigantic philodendron painted lady. And having bought that, I started looking into like the weird world of houseplant collectors, and like how much people will pay for like a tiny stick off of a variegated monstera or something. Like, oh my god. How much? Okay, so let's start with the like, here's what I am beating myself up over. I spent $135, which is about 100 American on like a full size big it has multiple like fully grown leaves, and it's fully rooted. It's a plant, philodendron painted lady. People are really into like philodendron pink princess and monstera Thai constellation right now, and there's sellers out there that will sell what they call a wet stick, which is literally, they're trying to propagate so fast that they're not even selling plant. They're not even selling a cutting that has multiple leaves. What they'll do is they'll take a cutting at a node where there's like, so a node is where you'll have like a leaf coming out and a piece of stem, and then these are climbing plants, so they'll throw out aerial roots. And you can root a plant from the leaf. You can root a plant from the node. Usually, what you would do is you would wait until you have like a substantial plant. You'd cut a section that has a node or more. You'd put that in the ground, and you would root it, and you would sell a rooted cutting. Instead, what they're doing is they're cutting off the leaf. They're putting the leaf straight into rooting hormone. They're rooting the leaf directly, and they're selling like this piece of stem. Like, it's nothing. It's just a they call it a wet stick. It's a piece of stem that's got a tiny bit of aerial root, and you stick that in the ground, and it sends roots up and then sends new leaves back up. And for some of these like weird aeroids in Canada, you're getting prices where people are paying like $300, $400, $500 for just that stick. It's absurd. It's absurd because, I mean, first of all, these are aeroids. They grow so fast. They grow so fast. Like, it doesn't... They're rare because they're in demand, so like people are trying to propagate them really fast from small plants, right? Like, if you waited until they were bigger, then you would have more of a root system feeding it, and you would be able to get like more substantial cuttings, but then you would have to wait like 6 months or something. Absurd. But I decided that my philodendron painted lady is a business expense. And, you know, as silly as I feel about it, apparently I can turn around and sell it for more because I didn't get it. Like, I got it for what I got. The local plant shop actually has like really reasonable prices. I shudder to say that because it certainly doesn't feel reasonable. But like compared to, you know, others in the industry, I guess. they make a big point of like always selling like very like quite established healthy plants. So like they're selling for the same price that other people would be selling, like, you know, one barely rooted leaf or something. They're selling whole plants in a lot of cases. So that's, you know, that's nice. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the other saving grace here is like, okay, well, I was an idiot who spent many dollars on a rare plant. But like I brought it home, it's already pushed out 2 new leaves. I brought it home like 2 days ago. So I can just wait, and then I can propagate that out and sell them. Banana is either mirrored or just a justified mix of banana and bad. So it depends which ones. Things like the philodendron painted lady aren't copyrighted. They're just a plant. So they're a natural variation that wasn't copyrighted by anyone. It's just it's a mutation. Now there are things like the Raven ZZ plant. I think it's called Raven, which is copyrighted by Costa Farms. So if you can still cut it, you can still propagate it, you just can't call it a ZZ Raven. You have to call it something else. It's the same plant. Painted lady is gorgeous, right? And it's like I got a really nice plant, so yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just whatever, propagate it back out and make back my investment that way. I got it for art reasons. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Pretty hazelnuts. Yes, they are pretty hazelnuts. How long have I been on? What time is it? Sorry. 5:51. Okay. So we're going on 2 hours of it. Are you going to paint this during Catter Day? Yes, I am. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be working on this over Catter Day. That's my plan. So yeah, I have my screen across the room, so I'll just be streaming that. And working on this at the same time. But I think for now I'm actually going to end this here, unless somebody wants to chat about greenhouses a little more. I mean, I'm still going to be working on this for a while, but I'm just at some point I'd turn off the camera. It's going to start getting a little crazy. I also upped my stimulant dosage today. Spoke to my doctor, got a new prescription, and then realized, oh, well, I still have like an awkward number of the single pills, so I might as well go to the new prescription on right away. So I'm suddenly more focused. Can't you tell? I feel so focused. Live streams are not great for focus. I'm happy to chill for a little longer. Wouldn't mind greenhouse speak if you wanted. Okay, cool. So, greenhouses. What do people want to know about my greenhouse plans? What have I told you about my greenhouse plans? Various people. I yammer about my greenhouse plans a lot, but I forget who I've told what and what people want to, what people actually, like, who actually cares about what? Or am I just annoying you all with my weird writing out? Would be glass or plastic? I'm not sure. There are advantages to both. We are tending towards probably glass. Just because it's going to be attached. So our plan is to build a house and then have it attached to the south side of the house, partially underground. And so then it'll have a roof that comes up from just below, if you figure like you have a 2-story house, so from just below where you would have 2nd-story windows down to 2 feet above grade, so 2 feet above wherever the ground is on that side of the house, for snow accumulation at the bottom. Which means, yeah. And then most of it, like, it'll be sunk partially underground, which will allow it to be cooler during the summer, which is a real issue because we get really wicked summers. And then warmer, it'll allow it to regulate temperature better during the winter as well, because there will be more, like, it'll warm up all that earth in the greenhouse, and all that air, and then that the earth particularly stays warmer overnight and releases some of that heat back to the air. And then the last thing that we wanted to do, so the goal is I don't want to be directly heating the greenhouse. Like I don't want to install a heater there, because you will lose all of that heat really easily through the glazing. So there's a couple things that we can do to control that. So the first is we're going to, you can get like safety or like insulating screening, that's more frequently used for commercial applications or for security, like on regular windows, but you can get it that you can get stuff that will roll down across the surface, and you can get it so that you can set it up so that it will automatically come down at night, Right, so then you'll have some extra insulation at night, so that helps. You'll also have all of that thermal mass of the earth and any water storage that you have. So we'll have like rain barrels from our house and from the greenhouse roof that will keep in the greenhouse so they'll never freeze. And so those will provide some temperature regulation as well. And then the last thing is, so pretty much the best safe substance that you can put in your greenhouse to add thermal mass, like the highest thermal mass that you can get without getting into like really weird, dangerous things, is water. So you can make that be usable water, like rainwater that you're collecting. You can have just stable water, like some people will just build walls or build planters out of big tanks of water, or just like put a bunch of them in the walls or underground. And that's an option. But one other thing that we had considered is, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a hot tub? And particularly, wouldn't it be nice to have a hot tub in a greenhouse that you can go to in January? So it's like really cold outside, but you go out in the evening, it's nice and warm because it's been heated throughout the day. So you'll have, like, it's a cool night, but it's like, you know, the equivalent of going out in the fall or something, and then you can heat up, have a wood-fired greenhouse. And you can collect wood from the site, like from your property. If you have any kind of property, like any substantial amount of property. So you're not, whatever, you're not bringing stuff in. And then that heats, instead of heating the air, which you'll just lose that heat straight out the windows. If you heat up the mass of the water, then that again anchors it better because you have, yeah, that stuff. So based on some back of the envelope calculations and then sanity checking with some engineer friends, and then going on a deep dive and trying to figure out who else has done this, and the answer is some people are as crazy as I am, but very few. But they seem to have reached the same conclusion, which is you can take a climate like mine, like a zone 4 or zone 5, and if you plan it right, you can have a completely passive system that pretty much will only freeze if you have, like, you know, the worst day in 5 years, you have 3 of them straight. Then you'll get below freezing inside the greenhouse. So if you have like a really, really overcast day on the shortest days in like late December, early January, and it's -25, that's Celsius, that would be like -10, I want to say, Fahrenheit. Am I doing that right? Gosh, I don't know. If you have that kind of weather for 3 days straight, then you might just dip below freezing. So with that kind of frequency, you can easily adjust it to where you can, with that you can easily adjust it to where you have like by just a tiny bit of extra input. So, you know, you go enjoy your hot tub once a week, couple times a week when it's really like on the coldest days of the year, through the winter, you can easily get yourself to a point where you have a greenhouse space that pretty much stays like safely above freezing throughout the year, which is about a zone 9. So like you will have a winter. It gets colder in the winter, but it never properly freezes. Thanks, Mikey. And that opens up a lot of possibilities because you can't grow true tropicals. So like I can't grow mangoes. But anything subtropical you can then grow, which is awesome. And it also means that because this will heat up and it'll actually be significantly warmer during the daytime, you can step out in a t-shirt into your greenhouse on the coldest days of the winter, which is a really big deal in Canada when like going outside in the winter, you bundle up and the air hurts your face and stuff. Hi Nora, welcome. We're talking about my greenhouse that I don't have, that I'm totally going to build sometime. New Zealand is in tropical, Australia is in areas. Interesting, what grows in each? Yeah, so I'm less familiar with New Zealand climate, like in terms of what your coldest times are. For those of you who are so if you're familiar with Australian climates, a zone 9 is like Melbourne or Sydney. So instead of growing, so I could grow most things that I would be able to grow in Sydney, pretty much. If you're familiar with something more like the US, you're looking at a zone 9 would be much of Texas, Georgia, North Florida, the Carolinas, parts of California. California is so big and has such a range. But like parts of Southern California. Yeah. Up north they grow bananas. Right. Yeah. So bananas, like Cavendish bananas would be tricky for me. I would probably not be able to grow the most common varieties of bananas, but there are bananas that I could grow. Although I don't know that that's really a high priority for me. I don't know if we've still got the Brazilians in the chat, but if you're familiar with Brazilian climates, it's like Curitiba. Or even a little bit warmer. Curitiba does occasionally snow. Like this year it snowed. Not commercially though. Right, yeah. Yeah, it'd be like a little bit warmer than Curitiba. I'm just trying to think of like what a better large city in Brazil is. It'd be like colder than São Paulo. Yeah. Sort of a bit of a wasteland in between there. very cold in São Paulo right now. Okay, Luzine, what is very cold in São Paulo? I'm teasing, but to be honest, actually, I've definitely, like, in terms of how cold it feels, the coldest I've ever felt has been in Brazil and in Australia. Mostly Brazil, but Australia had the potential because it was the same problem. So in Canada, we are prepared for the cold. When it gets cold, we warm our houses. So it's still warm inside. We have warm clothing. It's warm inside. We can be in a t-shirt inside. It's all very comfortable. And then when we want to go outside, you just bundle up. You have the appropriate clothing for the weather and you go outside, and you know, the air can hurt your face a little bit, but then you come back inside and you warm back up. In Brazil, where there isn't heating in most houses, like there isn't central air, when it gets cold, it just stays cold, right? So you go outside, you get cold, you come back inside, it's still cold. You spend the night huddled under blankets, you get up, you're cold, you take a shower, you're cold, you go outside, you're cold again, and this can go on for weeks. Google says it's currently 13 Celsius. Yep, yeah, so that would feel cold. That is like yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so that's about where, like, the coldest I've ever felt as a Canadian who, you know, has experienced -35 recently. The coldest I've ever felt was like in Paraná when we had, you know, 5 consecutive days of like, oh, it's 12 degrees, it's 13 degrees, it's 12 degrees, it's 14 degrees. I never managed to explain that to people. Yeah, no, it's absolutely a thing. Like, it's a different kind of cold, where like if it's just gonna be like between, you know, 8 and 15 degrees for days on days on days on days, you're just gonna be cold. It's just like every part of you is gonna be cold. And there's no way to warm up. Whereas in Canada, that's like, you can get so cold that you walk outside and the air hurts your face, but your body's still warm because you're bundled up, because you have all of this like proper clothing. And then you come inside and you take off all the proper clothing, you have a nice cup of something, and it's nice and warm inside, and you can like warm back up again, so it doesn't chill you down to your bones. I live in Utah. Short sleeves, pants, and depending on what season it is. Yeah, well, I think the coldest I've been in is the mountains in Utah in winter-ish. Was like 15 Fahrenheit. Yeah, I mean 15 Fahrenheit's pretty cold. And again, if you're in a climate that is prepared for real cold, then you know, then 15 Celsius or even 15 Fahrenheit. Oh, and I meant depending on the season, a sweater. Yeah. I mean, I guess the other thing is, like, when I went to Brazil, I was kind of, so my family's Brazilian. We go during the Canadians. We've always gone like for family trips, and then I did an internship, but it's always been during the Canadian summer, which is the Brazilian winter. Real fun to go, like, during our longest days of summer. You go to somewhere where it's cold and the days are short. When we lived in a very drafty hovel apartment and had polar vortex down to -30°C, that hurt. That was space blankets over every window. Yeah. It's when you encounter weather that your buildings, your clothing, or whatever is not adapted for. So like in Brazil, I mean, yeah, there was some aspect of, my cousins would be shivering and I'd be in a t-shirt, and that was fine during the daytime. But there's also an aspect of like, they'd put on their heaviest winter jacket, and it was just, it's hilarious what's sold as winter clothing, because it's not made for actual cold. It doesn't really insulate. So it's like more for fashion. So they'll have boots, but they're not made for, they don't have, like they might have like a fur rim or something just for fashion, but they don't have, they're not like insulated all the way down. They're not going to keep your toes warm. You wear them with your regular socks because you don't have nice big woolly socks. Sweaters and whatever are these light things. Some hooligans in my area will wear shorts every day regardless, but I personally am a wimp with coldness. I am such a wimp, and I've learned to just embrace it. Like, I'm a wimp both seasons of the year. I can't handle the hot heat. I can't handle the cold winter. And yes, I know, Joy, moved to New Zealand. That's the solution to everything. Yeah, winter clothes. We had friends who moved here from an area very cold with zero wind. Here it is very cold and lots of wind. They needed an entire new wardrobe when they moved. Yeah, absolutely. But like, even, you know what, even growing up in Canada, Mom, Dad, are you still here? I had to figure some stuff out as an adult. I think this is like a children of immigrants thing. But like, wool. Oh my goodness, wool. Wool is so good. And layers. But I've really embraced in the winter, I just like turn into this like big ball of soft things where I'll just like layer fluffy, like I'll wear a nice long sleeve shirt, and then I'll wear a fluffy sweater over it, and then I'll wear a fluffier sweater over that, and then I'll wear a big blanket scarf, and then I'll put a big coat over that, and then I'll step outside, and it's like barely below freezing. I've overdone it and lose like half the layers, but I feel sorry, Mom. What I was going to say is like, I don't know. Either I missed the memo as a child, or it just wasn't a thing, but how much warmer I am. How much warmer I am with like wool versus like fleecy layers, or like, yeah, layers, and they have to be like natural fiber. Well, like animal fiber, really. Skiing with the right clothes was always fun because you have to have something warm enough for snow, but light enough that you can carry it when you get way too hot after skiing. Yep. Wool is such a discovery. Yeah. Yep. Although I recently had an issue with clothing moths, and that was a bit of a tragedy given how much wool is in this house. Fleece goes from warm to too warm very fast. Yes, exactly. And I feel like I guess I rebelled. Like, I guess I had a lot of fleecy layers as a kid, probably because kids outgrow their clothing really fast and wool is expensive. And I would always get like overheated and then clammy, and I hated it. So then I wouldn't wear enough layers. I didn't want to wear long sleeves. I didn't. What about silk, Mikey? Are you allergic to silk? Silk is also really nice and surprisingly temperature regulating. Yeah. No, so I think it was a combination of things. Like, I had fleece, I didn't like the fleece, so then I like through, I don't know, my teens, 20s, I would like chronically underlayer because I didn't like the clammy feeling of the fleece and yeah. Yeah. And then I discovered thrift store wool sweaters, and now I have an absurd collection of sweaters. It's like crazy. Might be crazier than my collection of subtropical trees that I'm growing in my living room. But they're so warm and cozy. And I'm saying this in the middle of a heat wave in summer, when I really don't need to be warm and cozy, but I love my sweaters so much. Silk long johns were my go-to in Iowa. Yes, silk long johns are also great. I have some of those. You loved thrift store wool sweaters even as a small child. Did I? I don't remember this. I mean, this seems believable. I think I'm pretty much exactly the same person I was when I was 7. Just taller and with more anxiety. Along with thrift shop buttons and beads and hats and scarves. Okay, yes. Oh, you mean like I liked pawing through things at like Courage My Love. Yes? Did I actually have like thrift store wool sweaters as a kid? I remember a few phases of like my favorite fleecy thing. But I don't remember any thrift store wool sweaters. I mean, it seems like something that I would have loved. I did at one point, you did get us like these socks that I think they were like a cotton wool blend, but they had all different like little bits of like recycled yarn in them, and I really liked those. And then a little later, like at some camping trip, you got me wool socks, like the hiking socks, and man, I'm never wearing regular socks ever again. I missed some of that. My sound went off. Oh, so I had asked Like, you're referring to me picking through things at places like Kensington Market, like Courage My Love. But did I actually have like wool sweaters that I wore as a kid? I don't remember. I did get all of you wool socks for boots, always. Yes, yes. And then you got me hiking socks. Well, I did also have some cotton socks. They would always fall down because they didn't have like much elastic memory. You just admired all the wool sweaters. Yep, that seems just like me. See, I haven't changed at all. I am exactly the same person that I was when I was 7. Just taller with more anxiety. Hi, fleece when laundered spins fibers out into the waters and creates problems in the food chain. That it does. Most of them weren't your size. Parents invested knowing that those would cover 3 kids at least. It worked out lovely. Probably much improved art as well. Yeah, I mean, definitely I have improved over the years, although I will say that I was much more confident in my abilities when I was 7. Like, when I was 7, I thought I was a kick-ass artist, and now I wish I had that confidence. But I still have the big orange oversized fleece that was meant as a sweater, but you wore as a coat for about 4 years. Yes. You know, I did try to get something like that. Oh, mood. Yeah. Uh, I did try to get myself a big cozy oversized fleece like that, and you know, thrifted because I don't want to buy new fleece. I don't want to buy new anything, really. So what can I buy? Can I just buy everything secondhand? Then it's not made in sweatshops. It didn't go so well. So now I'm back to just wearing big wool sweaters. I have a whole collection of them though. One for every day of the winter. Trying to pop off now. Bye, Joy. I can tell you that everyone on this chat loves you and your art, and I'm 13, but I have no confidence, so hope I fix that. You just keep plugging away. 13 is a low point for a lot of people. 13 is awkward for a lot of people. And then we just kind of get through it. And yeah, with confidence in general, there's some fake it till you make it for everyone. I'm sure that your work is lovely, and that as long as that you're trying, it'll just keep getting better. Yeah, Nora, like if you post somewhere on, I don't know, Insta or TikTok, or if you have a website, some kind of social where you post your work, unfortunately, the chat here doesn't allow regular users to post links. But if you want to if you go into the description for this video, there's a link to my Discord server where we have a nice little group of us who chat throughout the week. Nice supportive little group of people who we talk about art and other nerdy stuff. And I don't right now. I really want to. I'm not allowed as yet to have much social media. Okay, no, that's totally fine. To be entirely honest, I didn't post a whole lot of stuff when I was your age, partially because well, the internet wasn't what it is today at the time. But definitely there are some things that I posted in my teens, later teens, that I look back on now and you know, it's no regrets, but sometimes I look at them and I'm like, really? That was some interesting decision making. So I wouldn't worry about not having to, you know, not having so much of a social media presence yet. I'm sure you will, and you'll get to a point where you have more than you really wished you did, I'm sure. Okay, I'll check that out. I'm definitely allowed on Discord. Okay, cool. Yeah, and we're a friendly bunch and well moderated. Discord isn't like most social media in a sense, but Discord server is basically a bubble. Anything posted is only visible within bubble. Anyone is welcome to join, but there's no Facebook creeping or anything like that, for what it's worth. You're welcome to it if you'd like to, but that's up to you. If you do join, you can share your work. Yep, exactly. We try to be pretty nice. Low drama. Please, Discord also has a channel for pigment chemistry where nerds good and proper. Yep. We're pretty innocuous as social media goes. Whole bunch of people from all over the world talking about what? Looking at paints under a microscope. And sharing pictures of mushrooms. Oh, this one's interesting, look. Yes, I love nerdy art people. That's my species right there. Well, come on over. We are all your species then. That being said, my back is starting to hurt, so I think I'm actually going to take a moment off from this. I am really enjoying myself, but sometimes I need to remind myself that I need to stretch and not be on camera for 4 hours at a time. Mushrooms are amazing. I'm reading a book called Mycophilia. Maybe you've read it? I have not. Tell me more about this book. Because it sounds right up my alley. It's written by Eugenia Bones about her life, basically foraging for and studying fungi. That's really cool. I'm gonna definitely look that up right now, right after I stretch. I think this is it for the stream though, so if you want to chat some more, I'll be on Discord in a little while, right after. I feel like we're also disproportionately fond of lichen. I am definitely disproportionately fond of lichen. That is definitely a thing. Okay. Anyway, I really do need to just get up and stretch. But yeah, I'll be on Discord in a little while if anyone wants to continue this conversation or whatever, talk about mushrooms or people's art or fungi or lichen or greenhouses or other things. Bye! I had an obsession with moss when I was little. That's very cool. Okay, you sound like my kind of person. I will chat with you later. Bye!